Since Hulk's introduction all the way back in 1962, we've seen the Jade Giant battle super smart villains, monstrous powerhouses, and even his fellow heroes a time or two. And during some of those fights, Hulk has managed to best his rivals in ways that can only be described as comprehensive, humiliating, and all-out embarrassing. I'm Ewan, you're watching What Culture Comics, and here are 8 Marvel villains humiliated by Hulk. Number 8. THANOS. The caveat to this particular entry is that it took place in the skewed world of Marvel Zombies, home to such lovely scenes as Spider-Man getting filled with sand until his stomach bursts and whatever the hell all of this is. While many will remember Thanos slapping Hulk around with ease during the opening scene of Avengers Infinity War, Marvel Zombies saw the Jade Giant topple his rival without even breaking a sweat. I mean, do zombies even sweat? I don't know, but the point still stands. This all took place in Marvel Zombies 2, set 40 years after the initial Marvel Zombies run that saw a who's who of Marvel Comics' most famous and infamous names turned into shuffling undead versions of themselves. Here, with the remaining zombies having eaten pretty much anything and everything possible on Earth, they then head up to the stars in search of more food. With grub in short supply, bickering and unrest kicks in amongst the zombie horde, to the point where the zombie Thanos decides to pick a fight with the zombie Hulk, who the zombified Mad Titan believes has eaten more than his fair share of flesh. Rather than a protracted back-and-forth argument or an all-out, multi-panel, multi-page battle for the ages here, readers instead saw Zombie Hulk unload one of his patented thunderclaps on Zombie Thanos' skull, squashing the Mad Titan's head and putting him down permanently. Number 7. Loki. Come on, do I really need to explain what makes this moment from 2012's Avengers so great? Hulk gets a lot of brilliant moments in the first Avengers movie, but him serving up a healthy dose of Hulk smash on Loki before brilliantly quipping wise with his puny godline has to be the best. This is a moment that ticks so many of the right boxes for what made that first Avengers picture work so well. While there are clearly potentially world-altering stakes at play, the film manages to sprinkle just the right amount of humor and charm in at precisely the right time. Number 6. The Red King. One way to embarrass someone is to take their most prized possession, particularly if that person is an egotistical, evil sort who views power and status as the end-all be-all of their existence. That was very much the case for the Red King, the person who ruled Sakaar when Hulk was exiled there during the Planet Hulk story. As a ruler, Angmo Asan II wasn't exactly a man of the people. Instead, he had communities destroyed, was a proponent of slavery, and was so self-absorbed that he had the majority of his many children killed so that nobody would be able to step up and lay claim to his throne. Ever one to shake things up, Hulk's arrival on Sakaar would be the Red King's ultimate downfall. Deciding to enslave the Green Goliath, this rogue opted to make Hulk one of the many gladiators whose only purpose was to fight for the Red King's amusement. Not only would the Jade Giant take umbrage with, well, all of this, he'd go so far as to lead an uprising against the Red King himself. After battling and beating this foe, Hulk became the new king of Sakaar, with Red King's bodyguard Kyra as his wife, as he is worshipped as an icon of this world by its inhabitants. Number 5. The Maestro. The Maestro seemed like the one villain who the Hulk just couldn't beat. A future version of the Green Goliath, Maestro has an advantage on the standard Hulk on a wide variety of fronts. Able to simultaneously harness Bruce Banner's vast intelligence and the Hulk's raw aggression, the Maestro is the survivor of a future in which the majority of the human race was wiped out by nuclear war. In the fallout of that war, Hulk's abilities were enhanced by the radiation that had caused so much death. Throw in a good old dose of driven insane by what he'd been through, and the Jade Giant and his ascension to becoming the Maestro made him a threat the likes of which the world of Marvel Comics had rarely before seen. This old future version of Hulk was introduced in 1991's Future Imperfect arc, and so tyrannical was his reign that a band of rebels used a time machine of Doctor Dooms to bring the Professor Hulk of the present day towards this skewed future. Still, old Prof Hulk didn't fare too well at first, with the Maestro snapping off his past self's neck. Once the regular Hulk recovered, Maestro tried to convince his young doppelganger to join at his side. After teasing such an alliance, Hulk managed to outsmart and outmaneuver his vastly superior self. To do that, Hulk sent the Maestro back in time to the precise moment that Bruce Banner was exposed to the gamma radiation that turned him into Jade Jaws in the first place. There, as the penny dropped as to where he was, the Maestro was evaporated. Number 4. Black Bolt. Black Bolt is a character who has been a hero of Marvel Comics for some time, but the character gets included here for a few different reasons. Firstly, the Inhumans were once featured as villains who fought mankind at the behest of Magneto. Secondly, it would later be revealed that this Black Bolt was a Skrull. And thirdly, because one particular interaction Black Bolt had with the Hulk is too great not to include here. Having been banished to Sakaar and Planet Hulk, the Jade Giant was on a mission to get back to Earth in that story's follow-up tale, World War Hulk. The reason for said banishing was that the Illuminati, comprising of Black Bolt, Iron Man, Doctor Strange, and Mr. Fantastic at that point, decided Hulk was too much of a danger to remain on Earth. Things hadn't actually worked out all that badly for the Green Goliath, for he'd eventually end up ruling Sakaar and marrying Kyera. It was only after the pregnant Kyera's death due to Hulk's Illuminati-enforced spaceship exploding that the powerhouse decided to return to Earth and take his revenge. One roadblock in Hulk's return home was Black Bolt, who would confront Banner on the moon. Given how Black Bolt is largely a mute due to his voice being capable of literally destroying entire worlds, him muttering enough in Hulk's direction should have stopped the green guy in his tracks. Instead, Hulk mocked his opponent, proclaiming how he wanted to hear Black Bolt scream. With that one line, Hulk had completely removed the rug from right underneath Black Bolt's feet, turning the Inhumans' once all-powerful ability into nothing. Number 3. Abomination. Back in 2001's Always On My Mind tale from Paul Jenkins and John Romita Jr., Hulk humiliated and tormented Emil Blonsky in the most painful of ways. As a precursor to this moment, it's at this point believed that Blonsky had murdered Betty Ross Banner, the wife of Bruce and the daughter of Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross. Once Ross discovers the location of Abomination, he passes this information on to Hulk. After a brutal battle, this fight looks set to end in the death of Blonsky as an enraged Jade Giant delivers one of the character's greatest ever beatdowns. While Abomination knows he's toast and is about to be beaten to death, he's surprised as Hulk pauses his assault. Instead of the uncontrollable aggression of the big guy, it's Bruce Banner who shines through at this moment. Rather than simply kill his rival, Banner hits way below the belt, locking up Blonsky in a cell where an old home movie of Emil's deceased wife Nadia declaring her love for her beau plays on a loop. Number 2. Abomination number 2. Fights between the Hulk and Abomination have largely ended up in Hulk getting the better of his longtime rival, and a battle between the two proved particularly embarrassing for Abomination during the second run in the Ultimates. In this corner of Marvel Comics, Abomination was scientist Chang Lam. Having created a formula to make an even better version of the Hulk, Lam did the smart move of using his research on himself. Of course, this led to him becoming Abomination, a being that was supposed to be like Hulk but would allow Lam to retain his own smarts while in his altered state. Thinking there was no way in the world that he could possibly lose in a fight against dumb, monstrous Hulk, Abomination saw his plan spectacularly backfire when the Liberators took on the Ultimates. During this scrap, these two behemoths locked horns in a fight that was over as soon as it began, that being due to the Green Goliath pulling off Abomination's arms, punching off his head, and then snacking on some choice chunks of remains. Because it's the Ultimates! And number 1. Herr Kleiser. Does it get more embarrassing than being eaten and then pooped out by a rival? No, but what I would also maybe say is that being the dude who came up with this moment is maybe slightly more embarrassing. Yeah. Well, anyway, this was the fate that befell Herr Kleiser in the Ultimate number 13, courtesy of an extremely enraged, erratic Hulk. Established as one of the first major villains of Mark Millar and Brian Hitch's The Ultimates run, Kleiser had by that point beaten the tar out of Captain America, Nick Fury, and countless others, and the regenerating shapeshifter had even survived having half of his face shot off by Fury. In a move of desperation, Cap and Fury made the decision to call in their greatest weapon, and thus readers got to see poor Bruce Banner brutally beaten by S.H.I.E.L.D. personnel and then thrown from a helicopter into the battlefield. Thankfully for Banner, this fall kickstarts his transformation into the Hulk, and he soon has Herr Kleiser in his sights. Not content with just pulverizing the villain to mush, the Green Goliath ate his foe, which, as detailed by Banner later, was quite the change of pace for someone who had spent 15 years as a vegetarian. Given how Kleiser is such a sneaky foe who rarely stays dead, Hulk later, poos out the rogue. Said poo is then destroyed to ensure Kleiser would never come back. Ooh, that's the Ultimates for you. And those were 8 villains humiliated by the Hulk. Know of any other famous Hulk victories where he didn't break a sweat? Let us know in the comments below. Drop the video a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe for more so you don't miss another upload going forward. I've been Ewan, my best wishes in erasing the horror of the Ultimates from your eyeballs, and I will see you next time. Bye!